Hey, it's time for another review. Today's subject. Oh, you know what? Why do I bother? Like, you really need me to tell you about this thing. You know, whenever some people bring up Superman within a video gaming context, this is usually the first thing that comes to mind. This Nintendo 64 offering of pure unadulterated stupidity. And whenever one were to bring this game up, this is usually the first thing that comes to mind.
The rings! The rings! The motherfucking rings! God fucking...
In short time, your fate will be sealed, Superman.
In this misfire of a video game based on the Superman animated series from the mid-1990s, eternal arch-nemesis Lex Luthor has kidnapped Superman's friends, and the only way the Man of Steel can save them is by entering Luthor's virtual metropolis, where he can do all sorts of stupid Kryptonian tricks like flying through circus rings and playing with giant cardboard cars, and tossing stuff that explode and knock you back. Now that's an epic for the ages, ladies and gentlemen. So the first level of the game has you flying through rings, and then you do some feat of super strength before going back to flying through rings. You do this several times before you're finally able to save your game and progress onwards with the game's storyline, such as it is. The second level takes place within a bland internal structure with specific objectives that you have to accomplish. Clear the level and you're back to the rings. And that's the whole formula of Superman. Odd-numbered levels are rings and stuff. Even-numbered levels are bland interiors where you can get stuck into things. But chances are you'll probably give up on the rings, and for the persistent ones who keep onwards, your vigilance will go largely unrewarded and unfulfilled. The really crippling issue about Superman is that the controls, specifically the analog controls, are really super sensitive. It seems like one slight tap is enough to make Superman perform cartwheels in a single bound. Good luck trying to control him at fast speeds, because one hard hilt is more than enough to careen you off course, missing the next circus ring you're supposed to fly through, and ultimately losing precious time trying to get back on track. It is an absolute chore, just trying to get anything done. And on top of that, you don't have access to various abilities such as Heat Vision or Freeze Breath, at least not at first. These are acquiring by collecting power-ups, and even then your uses of these abilities are rather limited. Actually, now that I think about it, that's actually not a bad thing. It gives the games few chances to f those powers up as well. Even in levels that don't require you to fly through rings, like a retarded Circus Charlie, you still have to contend with the game's horrendous combat controls. Yeah, let's punch like a complete idiot. Yeah, let's have really floaty leaps that struggle to get over a small pebble in a single bound. And while we're at it, let's have random bouts of slowdown. In a game featuring a man that's faster than a speeding bullet. Terrible. I guess I should probably mention that there is a difficulty select in this game, and it's one of those lame systems where the difficulty setting determines the number of levels you play in. So if you want to play through the whole game, you have to take the hardest setting. Now, not that it matters really, considering you probably won't stick around for a couple levels at most, if at all. Graphics are bland. I could sort of forgive the foggy draw distance when flying about in this virtual metropolis, or even the foggy draw distances of larger interior rooms. But the whole thing just looks unappealing. Character models aren't anything special, but move about stiffly. Not a second goes by where it feels like I'm controlling a Superman action figure with exactly 1 point of articulation, if that. The virtual metropolis feels really incomplete, as if the designers opted to design a few solid shapes that somewhat resemble buildings, add some half-assed textures for half of them and coloring, and just left it as that. It's a big city, no doubt, but it just looks drab. And the same can be said for the interiors, which look somewhat similar to each other, and just as drab. It's all drab. Drab, drab, drab. Absolutely bland as horse manure. Just terrible. To Superman's one sliver of credit, there are some samples of voice acting by the folks who took part in the Superman animated series. It's not much, but it counts for something. Whatever voice talent is present is wasted on a game like this, which has really, really drab music. There's that word again. Now I hear people bitching about how this game doesn't have the classic Superman theme used by John Williams. Honestly, I don't know why you would put that there, since the animated series this game is based on never had it, instead featuring its own serviceable substitute that suited the series just fine. But even that theme is absent from this game, which actually isn't surprising and is probably a good thing considering the rest of the game. Sound effects are stock, generic, and nothing special. You'd be best to mute this television during your gameplay, or just turn the game off. Either way works. The time spent on this game has been utterly miserable. I wanted to give Superman a chance, I really did, in spite of all the bad press that I've heard about it. Sadly, it wasn't worth the effort, not even for the curiosity of it all. There is absolutely, positively, affirmatively, ultimately nothing redeeming, relevant, or worthwhile about this game whatsoever at all. Whoever wrote that bit about Superman establishing the bottom of the barrel should find that barrel bottom and apologize to it with Song and Roses, because that poor barrel doesn't need the shame by association. Now, with everything that I have just said about Superman and how terrible the game is there any sliver of light to be found in here? Actually, there is. There is one slight, minute positive to be had here. The game's practice mode, which is basically a free roaming level where you can practice your skills, such as it is, so that they can be put to good use in the main game. Does it work to that effect? No. But what it does do is let you fly aimlessly through this virtual metropolis. Just fly. No rigs to fly through, no cardboard models to put up with, no stupid fight choreography to endure. I mean, that stuff's there, but it's all optional. All you have to do is just fly and let the wind soothe you. Put your mind at ease. Bring it a sense of clarity, calmness, serenity. Be at peace with the blandness of white air. Breathe in. Yes, that's better. And now, you know what must be done with Superman on Nintendo 64.